Welcome back to another explainer. If you've ever stared at a Linux terminal, just that blank black screen with a blinking cursor and felt a massive wave of intimidation wash over you, well, you are definitely not alone. It looks like something straight out of a hacker movie, right? But here's the secret. It's actually just a highly organized tree. And once you know how to climb it, you literally have total control over the machine. Okay, let's dive into this and demystify the Linux command line once and for all.
So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, welcome to the Linux tree. Then, important Linux directories, your basic navigation toolkit, creating and modifying files, useful utilities, and finally, a practical scenario and exam prep.
All right, Section 1, welcome to the Linux tree. To truly navigate Linux, you first have to wrap your head around the Linux file system. By definition, this is just a method of organizing files and directories in a hierarchical or tree-like structure. Actually, scratch the whole messy computer desktop idea. Instead, imagine a massive oak tree. Every single leaf, every branch stems from one single place at the very base. In Linux, we call this base the root directory, and it is represented simply by a /.
Now, if you're coming from a Windows background, this might take a second to click, but trust me, it's actually much simpler. On Windows, you know how your file system is fractured into all those different drives? You've got your C drive, maybe a D drive for a USB, and so on. Well, Linux doesn't do that. Linux starts from one unified root directory, that /. Absolutely everything on the computer, even your plugged-in USB drives, branches out from that one single root.
Moving right along to Section 2, important Linux directories. Now that we've found the root, let's take a little guided tour. And this brilliantly illustrates the main branches of our tree. Think of your system as a bustling city. At the very center is the root directory. From there, you branch out into residential zones like /home for all your personal user files, and industrial zones like /bin, where your core system commands operate. Behind the scenes, we've got /etc, which holds all the blueprints and configurations, while /usr stores your standard programs. Oh, and for temporary needs, /tmp acts as a quick scratch pad that regularly gets wiped clean, which is quite different from /var, where the system holds constantly shifting variable data, like system logs.
Okay, Section 3, your basic navigation toolkit. It is time to equip your utility belt. When you first open a terminal, you're kind of flying blind until you use these three gadgets. First up is pwd, which stands for Print Working Directory. If you're ever lost in the tree, just type pwd and the terminal tells you exactly where you're standing. Next is ls, meaning list. Typing ls is literally like turning on a flashlight in a dark room. It instantly shows you all the files and folders right there in your current location. And finally, cd, for change directory. Once you use your flashlight to spot a folder you want to enter, you just type cd followed by the folder name to physically move into it. Honestly, with just pwd, ls, and cd, you can navigate the entire Linux tree.
Let's jump into Section 4, creating and modifying files.
So, these are the commands you're going to use to actually build and destroy within your directory tree. Need a brand new folder? mkdir makes a directory. Realize you don't need it? rmdir removes an empty directory. Now, if you want to delete a specific file, you use rm for remove. But hey, a quick warning, be super careful with rm. Unlike your normal desktop, there is absolutely no recycle bin here to save you if you make a mistake. It is gone for sure. And for organizing things, we've got CP for copying files and MV for moving or renaming them. Once your fingers get used to the typing, it's incredibly fast.
So the crucial point is understanding the subtle but important difference in how we use CP versus MV. Let's look at the CP command first. If you type cp file1.txt file2.txt, you're basically telling the computer, hey, take file 1, duplicate it, and name this new duplicate file 2. Boom, you now have two files. But with MV, it's a totally different story. If you type mv file1.txt documents, you're taking that one original file and physically relocating it into the documents folder. Also, super handy trick, MV can be used to just rename a file if you give it a new file name instead of a folder destination.
Moving to Section 5, useful utilities. All right, let's round out that tool belt with 4 quick, super useful utilities. First is cat, which is short for concatenate. I know it sounds complex, but it's not.
If you have a text file, typing catnotes.txt will instantly print the text of that file directly onto your screen, letting you read it without having to load up some bulky text editor. Next up is clear. After typing a bunch of commands, your screen is going to get messy. Typing clear sweeps all that clutter away, giving you a fresh, clean slate. Finally, we've got date to quickly show the current system date and time, and cal to pop a neat little calendar right there in your terminal. They're quick, they're simple, and trust me, they are very handy.
Last but not least, Section 6, Practical Scenario and Exam Prep.
Let's actually walk through the exact practical scenario prescribed in your textbook. So imagine you're taking your exam and you're asked to create a folder named IT. Enter that folder and then display your current location to prove you're actually inside it. Step 1, you type mkdit and hit enter. Boom, the folder is created. Step 2, you type cdit to change your directory and step inside that brand new folder. Step 3, you type pwd to print your working directory. The terminal will then output your path ending in /it, proving you successfully navigated the tree. Easy, right?
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how they test you on the absolute core concepts for those 1-mark board questions. For instance, what is the root directory? Well, as we just covered, it's the topmost directory, represented by a simple /. And what about pwd? It simply prints the present working directory. For these 1-mark questions, clear, direct answers are exactly what you need.
Now, for the heavier 2 to 5-mark questions, this is where you get to put the whole picture together. You might be asked to explain the Linux file system, and when you do, definitely remember to mention that hierarchical tree-like structure. You could also be asked to write out 4 to 6 commands with their uses and examples, just like we did with mkr and dr or ls. And hey, if you get a 5-mark essay question, be fully prepared to draw out that directory structure we saw earlier, showing the root branching out into /home, /bin, /etc, and the rest.
So, to make sure you are 100% prepared, let's do a quick revision of the 12 core commands we've mastered today. We've got our navigation tools like pwd, ls, and cd to help you move around. We have our file management commands like mkdir and rm to build and delete. And, of course, the essential system utilities to view files and keep your workspace clean. Take a quick mental screenshot of this to lock it in. These 12 commands are the foundation of literally everything you will do in the terminal.
You came into this explainer looking at a confusing, intimidating black screen, but you are leaving with a complete map of the Linux tree and a fully stocked utility belt of commands. The terminal isn't a barrier anymore, it's a canvas. You now have the keys to the root directory. The only question left is, what will you build first? Keep practicing those commands, and we'll see you in the next explainer.